Hello, good evening. What's up? Welcome back to Game Shot, the Fallout Bar Night 3. Once again, myself, Jack Garwood, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Lee Boyce, in some very interesting attire tonight. He has brought out the jazzy shirt for us all after yet another appearance in the Winter Gardens. Mr. Boyce, how has your day been in the absolute sweatbox?
Tonight was absolutely ridiculous how warm it is in there tonight. So bad. However, that Sweet Caroline to start the night off was something special. It was so good. I moved round up to the first balcony to watch it because it was so good. I know I keep saying so good, but there's a reason why.
So good, as the song goes, mate. 4 games for us to sit and review tonight instead of the 8 that we saw last night as we conclude round 1 here on night 3 at the Betfred World Matchplay. Don't forget, guys, hello and welcome actually to everybody in the chat room. If you're watching us live on YouTube, thank you once again for joining us. Malachi says, Lee, go into Pot World after this is over. Yeah, you're not wrong, mate. Tonight is the night that the boys make their first venture out to Pot World. Jar's in the background somewhere and he is absolutely ready for it as well. Me, I'm off to bed early-ish to get myself back in my nice new air-conditioned office because that was absolutely lovely for today. I've never been so happy to be at work in my life.
Before we start with the darts, how was the first day in the new job?
Oh, it was all right, mate. I had a 90-minute lunch, of which I went to Wetherspoons, and I finished half an hour early. So, bugger all. Thanks very much.
Sounds like you had a better day than me.
I cannot complain at all. Moving on to the darts. Game number 1. Let's talk about the crowd, actually, because it was full capacity tonight. You mentioned Sweet Caroline. The difference, the capacity from the last 2 nights to tonight made to the noise, the atmosphere, just everything has been absolutely massive tonight, I think.
Yeah, it's in MK for the Premier League and the first 2 days of Blackpool. We've spoke about how good the atmosphere has been. But actually, comparing it to tonight, and it has been very good, and fair play to everyone who's been in the crowd for all those nights. But tonight, especially early on, was very strange to a normal darts night where normally it builds up and gradually by the end of the game, everyone's up off the seat. It was a bit of a flip reverse tonight, and we saw the early games where the atmosphere for the first 2 games was just incredible. It was so good that I would probably throw out and say, for Winter Gardens on a Monday night session, it's started to be one of the best it's ever been. Obviously, it's Freedom Day as well, but Monday night at Winter Gardens never normally as good as that, I think.
Yeah, no, you can't be far, especially as it's round 1. Like it was creeping into round 2 or the quarterfinals, perhaps. So maybe we've seen atmospheres like that before, but it just felt like the full crowd with everything that was going on today. Players on show, the walk-on music, everything just added to the spectacle that it just went up an extra level. Like having fans back in as test events for the last couple of times, the Premier League, World Championships for that one day that you were there for as well. You seem to be an absolute magnet for it. And the first 2 nights here at Blackpool, look, it's been great to have them back, but nothing, absolutely nothing can replicate the feeling, the emotion, the atmosphere that a full sporting crowd can create. Anybody that watched the British Grand Prix the weekend, oh my God, that was loud. 140,000 people in attendance for that. It's just mind-boggling, and I don't think we realise what we've got until it's gone. It's definitely one of those situations, isn't it? Because for 18 months we've had sport behind closed doors, and now they're back, and we're like, oh my God, we took this for granted so much.
Yeah, and we're going to obviously start with the White and Gurney, and it's probably leading into that is the performance that we've seen from White and Gurney over the past few months hasn't been what we've seen from them tonight. And it's because surely there's 1 or 2 ways you can go with that atmosphere, and we'll probably touch upon a player who went the other way towards the end of the night. But the first 2 players down onto that stage, they reacted to it. And from the early parts of that game with some of the ton plus finishes we saw, it turned what we saw as a Damon, but me and you were predicting one that was hoping for a bit of a 0-0, I'm sure I said yesterday. It's actually flipped round the other way, and it was a game that you wanted to go on that little bit longer.
Yeah, you're absolutely bang on, mate. The start of it was electric. Those ton pluses, it was like dishing out ton pluses like it was selection boxes at Christmas to all the kids at school. It was ridiculous how many they were just banging in for fun. But actually, I think the most important part of the game was towards that back end when it started getting a little bit tense. To start with, they both came up, they both delivered. They had absolutely nothing to lose in what on paper was a winnable game for both of them. But as that tension started to creep in, as they started to approach that winning line, it kind of been just me that was thinking if anybody can blow that lead, it would be Ian White. Because we've seen it from him so many times on TV before.
Yeah, and I don't want to be too harsh on Daryl Gurney because that atmosphere, they haven't played in front of that for so long. But if it was a player who was playing well, Daryl Gurney was given so many opportunities in the back end of that game. And there was a chance where he missed 5-6 darts at a double in a lead. And Ian White, the fans were batting Gurney at that stage. But Ian White had so many more opportunities. He was missing 3 and still coming back, and we don't see that very often. It's going to be very hard for Ian White moving forward, but
yeah,
he was given plenty of opportunities tonight. He started very well, and it was that lead that won him the game. It wasn't anything else for me. It was the lead early on that won him the game.
Yeah, that break into the first mini session break or interval, if you like, really set him up. This is a weird one if you look at the stats. Gurney outscored him in the tons, he outscored him in the 140s, and he outscored him in the 180s. Yet had 10 less attempts at a double than Ian White, who managed to get over the line. If you hadn't watched the game, it'd be absolutely impossible to make sense of what I'm seeing on paper here. But it is Ian White that progresses to play Michael van Gerwen, who we will get onto a little bit later. Let's hear from Ian White. As usual, we have clips of all of the interviews from tonight's winners over on our YouTube channel. Obviously, don't go and look at them now. We want you to still carry on watching us. But once we finish, pop over there, and anyone you want to hear in full, you can do that over there. So this is Ian White in his post-match conference.
Yeah, I've got to have an operation on the 4th of August, so that's going to put me out a bit. There's not a lot I can do, so I've just got to get on with it. And with this COVID, the way we've gone on with this COVID and that, it's knocked me out the top 16. It's done everything. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just the way the tournaments have gone. I've done well in the Europeans 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden it's been taken off us and we can't travel. So I'm struggling. So it's nice to get over that line.
You mentioned a couple of things. Normally, we don't dissect these interviews too much. We leave you to go and have a look at them. But actually, it's interesting that A, he's got an operation coming up. So he's playing through an injury at the minute. And B, he mentioned dropping out the top 16. But actually, that win tonight jumps him ahead of Daryl Gurney. He is back into the top 16 after that result.
Yeah, but you expect it to flip back possibly because you're not sure what the operation and how long it's going to move him out for. Might not mean he's in there for the back end. However, we say you want to be number 16, so you're seeded for certain things. But when it comes to the World Championship, do you want to be 16? I'm not quite sure you do.
Probably not. There's a long way to go before you get to the seeded round at the World Championship, though.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to game number 2, and a game that many people thought had extra legs written all over it, myself included, and even you after your prediction last night, Lee. First mini session did not look like it was going to happen at all. Second mini session, here we go, game on our hands. Third session, completely got away from Mervyn King again as Nathan Aspinall runs out a 10-6 winner.
Yeah, and I think one thing we spoke about yesterday with Mervyn King was the heat. And I will say, being in there for every session today was something else. It was so warm. So warm. I wanted to have a nice few drinks today, but I ended up having to turn to water because it was that warm that I needed to just...
You're getting old, mate. You're getting old.
I know, it was ridiculous in there tonight. And I think You don't want to say that for Mervyn King. The one thing for me that you looked at tonight in his performance was the doubling. I had a look after 12 leads, he was on 26%, and the majority of those are at the left side of the board, which is obviously where he likes to do. Which was very, very strange to see that. And one thing we got from Aspinall is we saw it with the Premier League, and we're going to see it again this week, is the fans are behind him. 100% the fans are behind Nathan Aspinall. Whoever he plays, the fans are going to back him.
Well, you say that because we know who he plays next when we get on to game number 4, which might be completely different in the Winter Gardens. Let's talk about that King finishing stat. On TV this year, the man has a finishing stat of over 50%. Tonight, he hit just 28% of his darts at double, 6 out of 21. That is not very Mervyn King at all. Nathan Aspinall, 10 from 25 on his, 5 180s straight from him. No ton plus checkout, which we are sometimes used to seeing from Asp, pinging in that big shot to really break his opponent. But a 94 average for Aspu. I tell you what, his post-match interview was classy as well. The way, like I said, he's got the fans behind him, and the way that he responded to up on stage with that interview, saying it's class to have him there after not having him for so long, was mega.
Yeah, and it shows, and it definitely on our show, we talked about it an awful lot, whether it be any Super Series or Live Lounge. We talked about how important a good Wart on Sundays. Nathan Aspinall with a Wart on, straight away he's got the fans on his side. It's very strange looking at those 2 games and the stats of those 2 games, because I thought there was better until I looked at the stats afterwards to see that Aspinall 94 and King 92. It seemed like a better game, as did the first one to those stats, but it was those missed doubles that obviously brought that down. But it is going to be very, very interesting, as you've just mentioned, around the fan support that Nathan Aspinall's got, is will we see it next time? I think we will. I think he's up there as one of the fans' favourites at the moment. We know that changes very often, but at the moment, I would say so.
Yeah, I've completely lost my trail of thought there. What a moment. There it is, the first mistake of the night. We knew it was coming. It was all going far too smoothly at that point. Let's just jump to Nathan Aspinall's interview and see what he had to say about the game after his win over Mervyn King.
What a night. The crowd were bang on my side, chanting out the England tunes. I was back at Wembley. Halfway through that game, I had to kind of say to myself, Nathan, you're playing darts, you're not back in Wembley, calm down. But it was fantastic. They were fantastic. I can't keep saying it. They were brilliant. They've enjoyed their night, and they put a smile on my face for the first time in a long time playing darts, and they really enjoyed it, and they got the result.
For quite a young man, he says the right things at the right time, does Nathan? He's earning a lot of plaudits and a lot of fans by the way that he conducts himself in the media. Right, next up, game number 3, the entrance of the world number 3, the Green Machine, sneaking. Look at that. That was a sigh of relief. He was messaging me when Damon Heta led this match 6-4 at the break, going, if this carries on, you're going to have to find someone else for the show tonight. Because I did back Damon to win this match. And there was a moment where we thought he was going to do it. But like Nathan, his performance was incredibly intense, Michael Van Gerwen finds an extra gear after the second interval and just runs away with on 10-7 in the end, Lee.
And I want to say, it was at 6-4, I was trying to find someone else to step in to do the show with you, because I thought this is going to be very horrible for me. I might need a little more than one bud to see me through the show if Heta would have won. However, what happened was in 16 first round games, I have finally predicted a threat store. Just one. Oh. But that was the one. Just one. That's it. So I'm taking it. So, roles reversed, and I'm going to be the smug one in this. But from a 10-7 win, not the way I expected a 10-7 win. I expected more from Damon Heta, but probably more the MVG way. I expected an awful lot more. Those first 10 leads, could have certainly gone either way. A lot of those. It was a very disappointing showing early on from MVG. He stepped up when he needed to, but if he's playing against a better player at those early stages, it's not 6-4 at that stage.
Yeah. Yeah, somewhere for Bars is smiling. If you listen carefully enough, you can just about hear him. He's currently sat next to Charlie, who is producing this show. So if you listen carefully enough, you can just hear his smile. Damon Heta, let's have a quick word about him. The last time he played on TV was the UK Open, and it did not go to plan. He got beat by David Evans. He hasn't quite hit the heights that we expected after last year. He had some quality performances, struggled a little bit on the Pro Tour. Only a 90 average from him. He needs to find that extra gear, doesn't he?
Yeah, but there's the point of the game where he was 60% on his doubles at 7 sits behind, and he missed 5, I believe, at that point. But what we've seen from Heta is we know he can finish. He's been tipped as the sort of Wade, as the next Wade in regards to how his finishing is. However, his scoring wasn't there to compete with MVG, and I wouldn't even say B Dame MVG, probably C Dame MVG we saw today, and he wasn't able to compete with that in the scoring because early on, it says how his doubling was at 60%. If he'd have got himself more opportunities, then that scoreline could have been very different at that stage, and that was the point.
Well,
Here he is,
Mr. Bars. Straight after the comment about how his inconsistency probably won't help him win the tournament when we're referring to MVG. I completely agree with that. To be honest, it wasn't the almighty performance that we're used to seeing. I think John Part summed it up perfectly, that his rivals saw that he has got a bit of fight about him, but they also saw tonight that he is vulnerable. There were times in this match where he was trailing to an 88 average. Don't get me wrong, Heta's finishing stats at that point were fantastic, and it's only when he missed, 5 in hand at one point to win another leg that it completely cost him, and his stats tanked. But Van Gerwen has to find another level.
Oh, 100%.
If he's going to win his first title since November last year. I'm going to keep banging on about it until that stat changes. November last year. We are closer to that date again than we are going back to that year. It's over half a year.
It is mental when we're talking about MVG. But it's hard to, the only positive was today was how we performed after that second break. Mm-hmm. It for me is the only positive, because the level that MVG can play at, and how MVG was speaking in his press conference before the game, I expected a completely different performance from him. Not maybe to the 110, 109 sort of that he can do, but at least a lot better than what he did. It was disappointing early on, and there was worrying signs for both MVG and me on this stream with you.
He's made 2 finals and 4 semi-finals. He's not exactly in a rush. No, completely. But the conversation with Michael Van Gerwen is always going to be the former world number one that absolutely dominated for multiple years. This is the first year since 2014 he has not been the number 1 seed at the World Matchplay. Yeah. At this time last year, he was in a rosy enough position, wasn't he? Like, okay, he hadn't won the World Championship, but he was still looking okay enough. There were signs of a dip, but he looked like he was correcting that. Went on to win the Players' Championship in November, and you thought, okay, here we go. He's dropped to 3rd in the world right now.
And there's nothing better than someone who's producing the show putting his own comments on the stream. That's next level. I've not seen that before. Mr. Eaton is putting his own comments on.
Well, he did it last night under the guise of the online darts thing. So let's not pretend that he doesn't just want to be involved anyway. Bless him.
And before anyone asked, he's not here to wave or show his face this time. He's in a completely different building from me today. So
don't say that. It'll just pop up in another window now. That's it from Michael Van Gerwen, and so we can get round 1 over and done with the final game, and then we can look at our predictions ahead of tomorrow. So here is Michael Van Gerwen in his
big numbers. Of course, I even today I played some absolute crap legs, but also when I had to do, I threw a nice 11 or things like that, and I feel it's coming, but you need to keep winning games. That's the only medicine what you have to do to get your confidence and to get everything back on track.
To paraphrase, he did the right things at the right moment. He's going to have that on a T-shirt, along with Gary Anderson saying, "I just want to play darts," which, amazingly, Gary Anderson said in his pre-match interview with Sky before he went on stage tonight, as he rounded off round 1 with a 10-5 victory over the very potentially dangerous Stephen Bunting. Last time out of the Winter Garden, Stephen Bunting was fantastic, made the semi-final. Since then, he's won a Pro Tour, his first in 5 years. Tonight, however, 84 average from the bullet. Never really looked like threatening Gary Anderson at all, who runs that 10-5 winner.
Probably for me, out of everyone we've seen across the first 4 sessions, the person I'm probably most disappointed in is Stephen Bunting. We've seen people who have hit lower averages than him this week. However, from what Stephen Bunting or we've seen he can do on the Super Series, I expected better from him tonight. And to push Daryl, is you never know what you're going to get from Daryl Anderson. He played okay, and I think that's probably the best way to sum it up. He played okay, but he wasn't pushed at all by Bunting. It was very disappointing, and we know that Bunting will come back, and Bunting has got the ability to, push to quarter semis and potentially even finals on certain stages, but it was just disappointing from Stephen today.
Yeah, word on Gary, last year's runner-up. We all know the pedigree of the man. Using new darts, or so he says, it looked like the Phase 4s to me, despite releasing some shiny new Phase 5s in the Unicorn launch earlier in the week. 94 average, 10 from 28 on the doubles. He missed more doubles in the match than Stephen Bunting attempted, full stop. 3-180s, no ton plus checkout for him. Tough match in the next round for him as well, as he will play Nathan Aspinall. I'm still not sold on his darts. I have to say it, and I have to say it every single time. He produced magic with them in Dubai, God knows how long ago. It must be 6 or 7 years ago now. But the 3 darts never go in the same way. They all land in the board differently, and it's incredibly difficult to group the dart like Gary Anderson can. Because when he was throwing the World Championship dart, the straight barrel, if that first dart was in the top of the treble, he was firing in a 180. Absolutely no doubt about it. Now, there's just too much deviation for me to be using these if he's going to win titles.
The thing with Gary, I think, and it's different to MVG from what we see from how they summarise their performances, is MVG is so fixated on the sort of average and how he performs in certain games, and we don't see that from Daryl Anderson. So I don't want to sort of go down the route of saying that where his average wasn't great and his scoring wasn't where it should be, because we know that when he plays a player who's performing better, and Aspinall's just going to go up there and do his stuff, that I think we will see an improved Daryl Anderson. I'm not going to say, he's going to push on and go and win this or push on to the last stage. It's a very, very tough game. And the one thing that I'm looking forward to a lot is what side the fans are going to go in this one, because it is going to be it's going to be very fun to see which side of the doubters they've been two of the fans' favourite.
Yeah, completely agree. Right, let's hear from Gary, and then we can start looking ahead to tomorrow and round 2. So here is Gary in his post-match press conference.
I think so. It's there's going to be there's a hell of a lot of players now. Is Van Gerwen going to win it? No. Am I going to win it? Probably not. Peter Wright? Probably not. I think you might see somebody new win it this year.
Who would you
I don't go down that road. I've just gave you my tip. But no, there's so many. I've watched Yossi play. That's something else. That is something else. You talk about the youngsters like Dimitri and all them. Nah. Yossi's something else in that practice board. If you get time to sit and watch him, something different.
How can you be as good as Gary and just going, nah, these guys are going to win it. These guys, he just completely wrote off Peter Wright, which is the second person to do that this week. One of them being Joe Cullen ahead of their showdown later in the week. Right, let's look ahead to round 2. Let's talk you quickly through the draw, and then we'll look at the fixtures for tomorrow. Going down in bracket order. So in round 2, Battle of the Welshmen, number 1 seed against number 16. Gerwen Price will play Johnny Clayton. It's 8 versus 9 in the rest of that bracket as well. Dimitri Vandenberg takes on Dave Chisnell. Luke Humphreys, one of only 2 non-seeded players to come through round 1, take on Christoph Ratajski. And the winner of that will play Rob Cross or Callan Ridd to make that 3 unseeded players. I miss Ridds. In the bottom half of the draw, Peter Wright will take on Joe Cullen. The winner of that will play Michael Smith or Jose de Souza. Michael Van Gerwen will play Ian White on Wednesday, as will Gary Anderson against Nathan Aspinall. tomorrow then, mate, let's march through these as quickly as we can so that everybody can get a good night's kit. Game number 1, Rob Cross against Callan Rids. Earlier in the week, we were looking at this draw being pretty open. But if Rob Cross plays the way he did in round 1, job done, surely.
Yes, and I'm not sure we're going to see much of a different performance from Rids, which South Cross doesn't have to perform at the level he did the other day. For me, so I think Cross would be a strong favourite in that one. First to 11 tomorrow, is he?
Correct.
I'm sure you're going to remind me before I put my Twitter post on tomorrow about the predictions.
I called you out for that earlier when I hadn't actually checked your predictions, and I had to sit going through the video yesterday to double check what you'd put, and there was one digit wrong to what you typed out. So what an absolute waste of time. I just thought I'd wind you up.
For me, and I think Rids is going to put on more of a fight than what he did. A better performance, I should say, than what he did against Lendurans. But 11 sits on the Nadal for Rob Cross. I do think one thing we will see from Rob Cross tomorrow is I'm not sure if we'll see the average and the scoring that we've seen from him the other day. However, I do think we'll see the finishing that we saw, and I think he'll get more opportunity with Rids. So I think probably about halfway, so although 11 sits.
Yeah, I'm in that ballpark as well, personally. I don't think we'll see the 100 average. And if we do, then people need to watch out because that'll be back-to-back for Rob Cross on TV at an event where he's previously won, throwing with his C game. However, he's still going to throw a 95, 96 average, and I think that'll be enough for a 11-7 victory for Rob Cross. Courtesy of Malachi's gone 11-5 to Rob Cross. Interesting on that one. Game 2. Before the draw, if you told me this was going to be the matchup, probably wouldn't have believed you. Luke Humphreys will take on Krzysztof Ratajski after 2 of the best performances in round 1.
Yeah, and I hope Joseph is right that it could be an epic. I really hope it is. And we spoke about this the other day. There's certain players who we're saying coming in here with not much form and that average the first time, can they produce it consistently? But there's going to be a couple of players who get through to the latter stages and don't have to. So Humphreys Ratajski is going to be a difficult one. Well, all 3, the next 3 for me are quite difficult to call. I think Humphreys just takes it. I'm going to go 11. I haven't had a chance to look at these, and this is why I hate about now. This is why my Twitter post is slightly different. I've reviewed them a little bit more. I'm going to go 11-8, Luke Humphreys, mate.
I was going to agree with you again, to be honest. I just think...
You know that's a bad move straight away.
Well,
agree with me.
The issue is I didn't see that performance coming from Ratajski in round 1, and I struggled to see how he backs it up because he's been so inconsistent on the Pro Tour. I'm expecting that form to carry on stage. Luke hasn't been setting the world a lot on the Pro Tour himself, but his TV game got him to a UK Open final. It got him to back-to-back World Championship quarterfinals. It won him the World Youth Championship. He absolutely loves being up there. The problem is if it goes wrong for Luke, it goes very, very wrong. He's not going to average 95, 96. He'll average 100 and absolutely at the park, or he'll average high 80s and be in trouble against Ratajski. So I'm banking on him averaging that 100 and getting over the line. I'm going to go 11-7 to Luke because if that scoring power turns up, I just don't see how Ratajski matches it tomorrow. Loves a 140, not many 180s from the Polish Eagle. Game number 3. Oh my God, we have the game that everybody was clamoring for in round 1. The 2 most prolific TV title winners of the last 9 months. Easily, there's only been one other TV title won, and that was picked up by James Wade, who is no longer in the tournament. Yay. Keep shooting myself in the foot with that one.
I didn't do anything then as well. I didn't have to
yeah, all right. Gerwen Price against Johnny Clayton. And I'm going to go first on this one because if it's going to happen, I want it to happen in this one. We're going to get extra legs. And I want to see extra legs. I cannot wait to see extra legs between these two just going at it because playing your teammate, your countryman, and your friend is completely different on that stage to playing anybody else. And I want to see if that changes the way that Gerwen Price approaches the game, approaches the way that he responds to the crowd, to big shots and in those key moments. And that's what I'm really intrigued to see. And I want to see that for as long as possible with these two just going out. And part of me is a little bit worried that Clayton just fades off a little bit because of the respect he's got for Gezi, that they both talk about each other incredibly highly. But I'm going to go Clayton because I went for that last Monday. And I'm going to go 14-12.
I hope to see that. I really hope to see that, to be honest, mate. But it's another one. We're talking about the Aspinall Anderson one. It's another one with the fans that I'm intrigued to see which way they side. Because there always seems to be a lot of Welsh fans wherever we go. But what side are they on in this one? There's a certain Welsh person I've spoke to who's in the media room and who is siding with Clayton. And for this one, I think Price is going to do it. I've just got a feeling that Price is going to do him. And I'm even going to say that I think Price is going to do him quite well. I'm going to go 11-7 Gerwen Price. Just got a feeling we're going to see more from him. And I worry a bit how much respect Clayton pays the Price. Where we know when as soon as the 9 practice darts are done, Price doesn't care who's playing. We've seen it plenty of times. I just think he'll do him, I don't want to say comfortably, but around 11-7 for Price. But I hope your prediction is right on that one.
Yeah. Bounces. He'll be, if Johnny's hitting his doubles, he will not be touching his. For me, the key is his 140. He is arguably the best 140 hitter on the planet right now. He's unbelievable at that. Final game of the night, Dave Chisnell against the reigning champion, Dimitri van den Berg. What's your opinion on this one, mate?
I'm going to go short and sweet with this one. I'm going to go Dimmy 11-9. But a very good game, very high scoring game, but 11-9.
The concern here, if you're a Dave Chisnell fan, is Dimitri's fishing and his lack of power scoring in game one. But knowing Dave Chisnell will do the complete opposite to what he did in game one. He'll score unbelievably and he'll turn it around. And as again, I backed Dave Chisnell last Sunday, I've got to stick with it. I can't plan out my tournament, start changing around just yet. Still time for it to go horribly wrong and sort that out come Thursday night. And then jump on a winner and claim it all along. Dave Chisnell, 11-8 for me in this one. Out early, out of the blocks, struggle a little bit, let Dimmy back into the game, but he will sneak over the line. That is tomorrow's predictions, all done from myself and Lee. Boys, thank you very much for everybody that has joined us in the chat room once again tonight. You guys have been absolutely amazing. If you're listening to this as a podcast, thank you very much for downloading or listening, whatever you're doing throughout the day as well. We hope everybody listening enjoys the darts again tomorrow night and enjoyed tonight as much as we have. Don't forget to follow us on all our social medias. They're scrolling across the bottom for you throughout the night. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Pop over to YouTube now that we're finished to watch the rest of the interviews and be back here at similar time tomorrow night, where we'll have the first 4 victors in round 2. All that's left now to do is to say thank you very much to Lee for joining us. Thanks for joining the background and field. Boys, enjoy your night at the hallowed palace that is Pop World Blackpool. And we will speak to you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one and good night.